member of the Board of Trustees for Teach for Malaysia, Senior Advisor for Pivotus Consulting, and former Managing Director for Hey Group World. Right? Thank you so much for being with us. We look forward to you moderating the session and guide us through the discussion. Right? Dato Sri A. ASTI Advisor and former CPO of Pulau Pinang, when Penang was still very clean, right? It's still clean, right? But it wasn't as clean when he was the CPO. Mr. Yunus bin Sajjad Hussain, the other handsome Yunus, with Clay Enasol, Managing Director, Founder as well, and one of our main funding partners, right? Mr. Anandan, okay, with Project Director for Young Technopreneurs Challenge, ASTI Working Group, and friends, and let's say family. So some of you have been with us for so long that I would consider you more of a family than friends, right? The reason why we are doing this, the ASTI Socrates Challenge, so we at ASTI, I think once upon a time when I was working in Kazana, Dato Tharuma was he was with Hey Group and he was advising Kazana on the HR development. And he was saying that I'm one of those, in the category of doing things, right? And there's a danger of sometimes wanting to always do things, but not reflecting on what we have done and what's the achievements, stuff like that. So that's where the idea of the Socrates dialogue came in. Where we want to slow things down a little bit at ASTI, because we do move very fast, and look back and reflect on the things that we're doing and how beneficial it is to our main target audience, which is the young people and also the nation at large. So that's the whole idea of the Socrates dialogue. So number one is to look back and reflect on the things that we've done. And number two is to look at new things. So we are in the education sector, so we want to look at the new big thing in the education sector, which is artificial intelligence. I have a lot of things to say about artificial intelligence. Until now, I'm an engineer by training, chemical engineer, but I still do not understand what artificial intelligence is. Right? And yet, we are going into this head on. The nation seems to be going into this, but have we really thought about what it is? What is artificial intelligence? And how do we implement it? Or is it something to be implemented, for that matter? Or is it something to be incorporated, right? So those are kind of questions that we are grappling with, and we hope that we want to start the conversation rolling today, right? And we hope that this will be the first of many different conversations that we at ASTI, also you and your organizations will also have when you consider this kind of, the latest buzzword or latest thing out there in the industry, and how beneficial or beneficial it may be to implement such a thing. So without much further ado, I'd like to invite Dato Tharuma to take his seat as the moderator. Let's give the handsome man a clap.
Today, what we expect, I think that there's an amazing group of people, very intellectual, from chief police officers to educators to thinkers, philosophers, and others who are here today. So we want to hear a lot. Time is of essence in terms of what we need to do. Okay? Then what I want to promote is a lot of critical thinking. Very independent, because I think the subject, education is a subject where everybody got opinion. No need to worry one. One of the things when I was doing in Singapore, education transforming in the early 2000s, thinking school, learning nation, we found that the mothers have to say, the parents have to say, education is, everybody have. But I think we are at a particular transition in history, okay? And people heard about the VUCA world, right? The volatility, complexity in terms of what we need to do. The world is becoming much more complex today in terms of what we need to do. But in order to set some context around where we are today, I'm reading this book. I think some of you know Mustafa Sulaiman. Very interesting, it's the latest book. If you want to understand about the coming wave, I'm also promoting him. I mean, in terms of, I've been following him. He's a guy, actually he's a son of a Syrian taxi driver. Mother was a British nurse. He went to Oxford, dropped out, like many of the smart people. They don't complete their studies. So a lot of cool things. I remember my nephew and nieces said, oh, we also want to drop out. We want to be Gates and all that to be there. So what actually he looked at entire thing. He started the early phase of what I call deep think. In terms, he started in 2010, in terms of artificial. He said that world at that time was a lot about classification. 10 years ago, it was about, okay, I see a pattern, there's a dog, there's a cat, in terms of what we need to do. So that's where a lot of the early stages of this came. It was still a tool. It was not overtaking human beings at that stage in trying to do. And then at a later stage, he sold the deep thing to Google Brain. You all know a lot of the Google Brain. He made like 400 million or something. Yeah, and as an entrepreneur, he went to start something else in terms of what we need to do. Then he's now with Inflection, which is another AI, where he says today the development has moved from the classification stage to a lot of it becoming a tool on its own. General intelligence capabilities where it can. He foresees, he says the next 5 years, there will be a capability where the AI models and all will come close to be human. His argument. And he thinks it's not fully, it will take next 10 to 20 years. For example, he's working on personal intelligence. He said that's where he has brought it to a stage where he has pi. If you go and look at it a lot, you can Google it and find. What pi does is like your PA. So you tell just Pi, okay guys, I'm going to UK, London, I need to stay in this hotel, I need this. You just talk to the Pi. Pi will arrange the hotel, do everything, will talk in between a lot of people that want to do. So he says it's bordering around personal intelligence. So he said from AI, artificial intelligence and IQ is where a lot of the tools and model, he is moving into something around emotional intelligence. So one of the things, I'm a big follower of emotional, I believe a lot of this is my personal opinion, that one part of it is emotional intelligence. I don't think you can codify and get a machine to do. Because emotional intelligence about emotions and feelings. Can you capture that emotions and feelings that need to be done? That's why that's a different subject we can take around emotional intelligence. So one of the key things what I want to table in terms of it, that set the context, the world is going to be very different. So how do you teach a lot of students today where jobs, we don't know what the jobs are going to be? That is the most important. People are going to lose jobs. That's for matter. A lot of the systemic in terms of what we need to do. But he is also a proponent of ethical thing. Because all technologies, there is also plus and minus. There are a lot of the guys, crooks out there who will use technology for different means. So he's also formed a board governance council where they say they won't give it to the military, they won't give it to others. But he's a lot into science and technology to cure diseases, to cure a lot of the other things that need to happen. So if you have time, go and look at a lot of the podcasts. Farid Zakaria, GPS, on CNN, interviewed him like 3 weeks ago. So he's a very leading thinker in terms. And also at the same time, fine, you don't have to be a nerdy or an AI expert or engineer. He was neither of them. There's counseling people in terms of the thing. So what it comes, as you read the book, sometimes it's quite scary. The world that's going to be, where people will be just talking to machines and models. He said later, now it's a tool. The next 5 to 10 years is going to be critical. It's no longer a tool, but the models will decide. Isn't it very scary in terms of what you really need? But he says it's being perfected, things will improve and move along. So the context we are setting is that students today, you have to start, how do we train? What do we teach? Like a lot of people are teaching STEM. I live in Singapore. Singapore moving to what they call STEMing. They say not STEM. The academy now, they say STEM, invention and entrepreneurship. So they said, let's the stamp need to be done. I think we are really talking about that. How many people can really bring into footage? So it's also invention. So you start creating that mindset around STEM. You're taking it next forward, and a lot of learning students in terms of it. We found, I was leading in Singapore today, their PISA ranking 2000 thinking school. We found it was a very stressful life of a teacher, a student, a parent. So we find rote learning and all cannot be very future. So we need to de-stress the thing, have a more holistic development of the child, and try to retrain the teachers, retrain them. So with that context, I want to open the floor for people to ask, query, and share things. Don't worry, as long as we have the subject about students, how do we prepare them for the future? Okay, no particular order.
Let me introduce myself. My name is Rajah. Currently I'm the president of Malaysia Innovation and Technology Association, and I was formerly with the Chambers of Commerce. Okay, and importantly, I started my business from at my age of 21, and I came from the automotive industry, marine construction, oil and gas, many industries I came, and currently I'm in the cybersecurity industry. And Dr. Yunus has always been my mentor when I was in the NGO movement. And the last 5 years, when we were talking about the IR4, artificial intelligence, we are worried because our education system, okay, I know everybody, this is a hot topic to a certain extent. Are we there yet, or are we ready? Many forums that we have joined, I can, compile that we don't know what we don't know. Okay, because there was never a baseline on where should we go. Okay, what is the leapfrog and what we need to do. I would like to humanize and explain. You see, like example, these young technopreneurs, there are issues where our universities, they create their R&D, they were never ready to go to market. Okay, because when we are in the Chambers of Commerce, we've been given a task by MITI and whatnot to commercialize all the R&D by universities. Okay, in half an hour I just short circuit everything. I said because everything that's been done is not going to market, no research, and end of the day is shock sendiri. Okay, it's always been a shock sendiri punya issue because you are not sure of what the market wants. That is one. Secondly, we take upon looking at other countries. When Malaysia bought, better edit this, 18 units of Sukhoi Su-30 MKM from Russia. India bought the same model. Ours is the MKI, theirs is the MKM. There is an offset program. Okay, we decided to send a guy to the moon as an offset program. Fast forward 20 over years, India can co-develop their own fighter jets. And today, we are seeking the help from India. Even though we have the defense ministries strike or whatsoever, and we have universities, infrastructures way beyond that, even from India, okay? And where is our capabilities when it comes into all this? And way before that, when the ministries are talking about IR4, 5G, all these things, we are not taking a step back, reflecting, or see, we are too engrossed in looking at the trees but not looking at the forest per se. So these are the problems that even we come today, our kids, my 10-year-old son learns about AI from the YouTube. Even though I send him to a private school, I'm working hard so that he can get a private, but he's learning about AI in YouTube. Okay, I have given a talk on AI in cybersecurity. how important artificial intelligence in cybersecurity. Okay, everybody is trying to grasp what is actually artificial intelligence. Prior to that was machine learning. Correct? We heard about machine learning. Then only we go to artificial intelligence, AI. I said it's very simple. I told everybody, and after 1 week, I got the same feedback. Please go home, take your time, please watch the movie Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. That movie, okay, brilliantly, okay, predicted what AI can do. Really, it is so scary how technology can be used for disaster and how can we use it for our own good. So coming back to our future of our kids, what do we want to learn? Our time is very easy. It's either lawyer, doctor, engineer. You tell like that, you kena one hacking. Okay? so not necessarily there are certain what you call it, because what makes it everything, you name it AI or whatnot, is being done by man. What men do, men can undo. Okay? So it's a matter of how do we see where are we going, which industry are we leapfrogging, because AI industry is not yet coming into Malaysia. Nvidia came in and gave one nice story, blah blah blah, but we don't know what's happening. You and me, we know. I'm just talking to our brother here just now. We do not need 5G. The IoT, the application that supports 5G, where are we currently? That is something that we need to look upon into our schools, into our system together. When you talk about the education system, what about the teachers? Their understanding on the future industries that are coming. Because if we take a step back, if we ask ourselves, what do we want our children to take up? In fact, I'm also confused. I don't know. Then I'm confusing the little boy. You see? So the question of AI, the question of it all boils back to our education. Because I wouldn't dare to say anything about our education. Some say it's good, some say it's no good, some say it's confusing. Okay? I came from Penang Free School. Okay? But today, the schools are not, even the teachers are not what it was before. Okay? So again, question of where do we want to live from, which technology must start by working together, industry-driven, all ministries must stop working in silos. What do you call it, cut it short, where we're saying that a lot of meetings like this must be going periodically. Okay. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Rani, and I've been in the education game for more than 30 years, actually. Succinctly, I would say that when education became a business with wanting bums on the seats is where it has transgressed a little bit. Going back, because I've been in nurturing, or rather, how do I say, facilitating startups for the last 10 years under the Victoria University program. The thing that I find the gap is that we run a lot of activities where we promote entrepreneurship thinking. Our blueprint of our education is now focused on entrepreneurship, but the biggest gap is, please don't get me wrong here, ASTI, we had 3 particular outcomes of the last competition, which we gave an award, but we did not take it for traction nor going to the marketplace. And that's where the gap is. We need to engage with the industry to take it to the next level so that the students actually are ready to be agile for the next type of learning that they need to. So I think that's what we need to think about. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Because I think, to be controversial a little bit here, I don't think education is in isolation from society. Education, if you want to address entrepreneurship, you come back to societal values. and how the society is structured, and how the individuals are grown in some respects. So critical thinking, as you alluded to in the beginning, is critical. Being able to question everything and anything is critical. You need to allow the children to ask the why question from the beginning. But we are not allowing children to ask the why question. We as adults can't ask the why questions regarding certain topics. Every topic has to be open in society. Every issue has to be debatable in society. And every issue has to be debatable publicly. So I think if we want to really change things, and if we want to have an impact from an education perspective, we have to also be able to question certain and promote certain values in the society. And promote certain values when it comes down to our press, when it comes down to everything, so that effectively you have a society that is structured to ask, to question everything, and then always look for the best solutions, and be able to progress that way. So that's just one comment here.
Thank you. Anyone else next?
Okay, if I may add.
Okay.
So, being able to ask the right questions is very important. There's, in the scientific method anyway, there's one step before. That the step that comes before asking question is the ability to observe, right? And observe the things that happen around us in a critical manner, right? That is not being taught, right? I mean, like your question on how do we prepare students for a future which is uncertain. One of it is our teaching method also has to be quote unquote uncertain in a sense, in a way in which it's not about finding answers, because the thing about answers is it's terminal, right? You observe, you ask a question, you got to answer, okay, move on, right? So the discussion or conversation ends when the answer is there. So our current education system is focused on answers, which was good once upon a time when we were moving towards industrialization, when we want to create workers for factories and whatnot. But now we are not sure it's going to be the future of factories even, for that matter, and what kind of jobs are going to be in factory. So we have to move and now go into teaching, not teaching, actually the word teaching, I don't like to use the word teaching now, into getting young people to observe in a critical manner, in a sense, in a creative and critical manner, not just critical, creative and critical manner, number one, after which able to ask questions in a creative and critical manner. Whether or not they find the answer is important, of course it's important, but it's not as important as the first two steps. So that's me for now.
Thanks, Jonas. I think the key question about teaching, this whole concept when I was doing in Singapore and all, what we got the teachers to do, they came out with teach less, learn more.
Yes.
I think the question is more of facilitation.
Facilitation. See, very interesting in terms of it. The last time the teacher comes to the class, teacher must know the right answer. But today they found that a lot of these children goes into Google and all, they're challenging their teachers. And the teachers are feeling, we are threatened with our job. Social status, how come these guys, children today know more than, it's just like children more than their parents. They can get gadgets and all that. So I think one fundamental thing about is the role of a teacher.
And it starts from very young, like when I take a class, I tell my students, keep asking questions.
Yes.
Ask me why, because I'm not the know-it-all. But they're so afraid because they've been inculcated with that habit since primary school, that the teacher is a know-it-all and the God with all the answers.
You shouldn't question the teacher.
Yes.
So a lot is the learning methodology, its curriculum, the methodology and how you facilitate that learning.
Just a small observation. When we are thinking about what to do in the future for the children, but have we looked at what has happened in the last couple of decades? Because things have changed also from the 1960s to the 80s and the 2000s, and how we came accommodating to the changes. Like for example, just before the COVID-19, nobody could have imagined that we can do Zoom education and children don't have to go to school. Everybody can stay in the house and the teachers don't have to go to school. So this is something that naturally brought about the changes and we adapted to the changes. We changed to accommodate ourselves. That is one example. So I think in future things that, like what doctor says, we have to educate the future generation to be very quick, to be observant and adapt and change to whatever the current situation that's about to come about.
Yeah.
Like another example, 2 years ago, where I'm a director in a company assembling car parts, we had 800 workers assembling car parts. But today, after almost 2 years now, I only have 80 people, 720 people. We have to, lay off because we are substituted with robotics. And the robotics, a 10-feet robotic, can be so precise in fixing the parts, and they don't have a union, then they don't report sick, they don't go for maternity leave, and nobody in their family pass away, they got a funeral and all that. So things are changing like that, we adapted. So what happens to the 720 over workers? They have to think how they have to manage their life. So I think the best thing is every generation will know how to adapt themselves. In the 1970s, if you do not know how to do typewriting, everybody will say you are a failure in life. But when the typewriting companies start producing, ready to produce 10 million Remington typewriters, suddenly the whole thing will disappear from the market. And the 10 million typewriters have to be abandoned. The computers came in, So these are the changes always going on. But I always think, having been a police officer, how do I can detect the suspects without go out doing investigation? Can the artificial intelligence tell me that it is Dato Tharuma, I go and arrest him? I'm for example, sorry about it, these kind of things may come. We may not even need many inspectors or investigating officers. We just talk to the computer, and the computer will say, the guys in third house from yours, you go and arrest them. So these are the changes that can take place. A lot of changes, But work-wise, there are 36,000 satellites dead and still revolving in the sky, and they are looking for people how to get rid and man these satellites there. There's a big opportunity for new jobs. We can look into that also. I think that's a small observation from me.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody want to add? You see, anybody here can start guess about what are the jobs that today is not there but will be created in the future. Then we can try to look, how do we get these students to be prepared? Madam, you have something to say? Yeah, some observation?
Sorry, the previous point that this lady made about encouraging our students to be able to critically question and not be afraid to speak out and question the teachers. But, it's not just an isolated thing. It's not just at schools. It's not just at universities. It's actually our entire cultural environment then that you need to investigate. So if we are comfortable or we want to encourage our young to question at school, to question the teachers, then we as parents must also be comfortable when they question us on other aspects of life. So we then have to throw back the question to ourselves, are we ready and are we prepared for that? Because it doesn't exist in isolation. They have to be comfortable that they are allowed to question across the board throughout life and such. So if at the home environment, in the home environment, that is not encouraged, then what more in the school? Because it just becomes it's a top-down effect, isn't it? So I just wanted to add that bit. As a mother of 4, with various age groups, so over time I've had to learn to adjust. So, my eldest had a more difficult time because it was just A, B, C, D, whereas the younger ones, I say A, they give me immediately X, Y, Z, and I had to deal with it, So it is also, the parent has to also deal with that. Yep. That's the parent.
So I'm going to try to articulate what I'm thinking. It's probably going to go wrong, so please bear with me. So firstly, I think it's the reframing of education as something that doesn't end with school. If you're talking about adaptability, we now have to be in a state of mind where we are constantly unlearning and relearning our skills. And this has to be a lifelong process. So we don't come out with an education and then we go and look for a job and a career. Because it's going to likely be unstable. And somehow there needs to be a support infrastructure which enables us to change careers at different stages in our lives, which not very many places in the world have right now. So it's going to require some kind of changing of social systems as well. So that's my first thought. I'll just add a quick second one, which is probably going to be a lot less helpful. When we say we want to prepare students for the future, I have difficulty envisioning that future. So I don't know what to prepare for, what ideas I can come up with when I don't even know where the landing is. So in such conditions, for most parts right now, we're chasing trends. Oh, somebody's making some money, let's chuck some money in there and then go. And that story about the typewriters is a fantastic example of that. So, throw money in there, let's educate, let's make 1 million nurses. The industry changes and everybody's now floating around, don't know what to do. So I don't know if the rate of change is happening very rapidly and accelerating, and we can't predict the future. From a systemic point of view, I would argue that introducing as much diversity as possible into the system is the only safety net that we have. Because most people will fail, but some people are going to be on the right track. So any top-down approach that says, oh, we should go down this road and these 3 careers are great, is already putting all our baskets into 3 routes. Yeah. So we should maximize the diversity of all the possible career choices, so somebody out there, whichever road things go down, is going to have a chance. And then hopefully they'll get to pick up where, pull other people along. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Just let me add to it. I think the most important thing we forgot to talk is the adaptability. Okay? How our kids are going to adapt. We are losing one very important component, the social issues. Why we are here today? Because during our time, we are being thrown into the deep blue sea by our parents. We can go anywhere without even worry. Our parents worry about us. Today, I think we have put our kids into like a net. Truthfully, their life is not like our life. We can't even throw them into the deep blue sea. Whatever that 6-year-old, I was already cycling 10 kilometers. Today, my son go 1 kilometer. There, I'm already. No, this is a true scenario. We are actually creating this bubble around them because of the social issues. These are the things that we need to look upon for them to adapt. Why we are here today? Because we managed to adapt. But because of the current social issues, the crime, everything, crimes are happening in schools. Dato, correct? Right. So how do we create that environment for them to adapt to what our future, okay, and make sure that they do whatever they do? Because secara tak sengaja, without knowing it, we are actually creating a bubble of net with them and asking why Yes, we want them to ask why, because the whys are always in Google. And I always tell everybody that this is the most dangerous thing of how we let them use. Okay? Because whatever they type inside there, if they don't come back and ask you or even ask the teacher, regardless we know the answer or not, it's going to be another issue as well. So yeah, so how will we decide? Thanks.
Another?
Thank you, Dato very much. I want to give a couple of comments and small input to the earlier question of the last mile for entrepreneurship. Students are bright, they have good ideas, but they don't really become business people. My feeling is that last mile needs a couple of big things. One is it needs a setup of a DNA, meaning the young people needs a playground to jump. Okay? So that's why you see even now some of the biggest entrepreneurs are of specific clan or family type. Because the DNA is provided, okay? And we are hoping that some sort of DNA is provided by the institution or government. Or, the DNA is not there. So they won't jump, they won't take that step. Second is risk appetite. Students or tertiary students do not have the risk appetite even when they have a good idea to become an entrepreneur. Some of them naturally have, because they already have that DNA either in the family or in, that's why they almost, or huge percentage, need to go to work. If you ask them, the whole idea of them getting a degree is to go to work. So that will cut the whole thing off. The last mile won't happen until they have these two, or at least I feel that two factors.
And can just very quickly add to, I think what was discussed in the last three inputs. I think the issue of culture is there. I can't remember the name of the person that wrote this book, Why Civilizations Fail. It's what Yuval Harari, is it? Can't remember the name of the book, yeah. But why did the Roman Empire fail? Why did all this empire fail and all that? And there was a list of things that was there. One of it was adaptability. They were able to adapt to new environment and stuff like that. So this, in a way, this issue of uncertainty and stuff like that, and how a culture is able to adapt and survive is not something which is new. Now the question, of course, is, and I don't have an answer to this yet anyway, is what kind of cultures will survive in the new world order, if you want to call it that, and how do we prepare ourselves to have that particular type of cultures? Yeah.
So it's very interesting to hear all the ongoing conversations. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Ililia, and this is my sister Nabila. So we're co-founders of a company called Robotics. I've been doing education of robotics since 2009. So this is like almost our 15-year full-time going on it. So we focus specifically on the robotics education and STEM. And what we see, there are many, sadly to say that in the last 14 years, we have not seen anything moved in the education. Like, we understand that there's a lot of initiatives being made, but they're not for long term. They're just for short term, 2 months, a month, one time off programs, so it's that. And the thing that we realize is also that there's a generational gap. We're the millennials, decision makers are the baby boomers, and then we have the Gen Z. So we're lucky enough to be in this mid-range between the boomers and also the Gen Z, because we understand that we have to follow our culture, which is we cannot speak or question the older generation and the way things are done, but also the Gen Z are totally the opposite, right? So now the issue that we have with the younger ones is that they are very fragile, very, very fragile. So we have a learning center, and we've trained children not just in Malaysia but outside of Malaysia as well, from the rural areas, from the urban poor, all kinds of children. So it goes back to understanding where do we want to go. which is going back to the basic. So we want to encourage children to get into STEM education. But how do we do that? How do we do that? Science is very abstract. If you want to encourage most children, because I come from a public school, right? So if I go to a private school, maybe I may not have an idea. But coming from a public school, I understand that we lack of that hands-on activities. Visualization is everything. Understanding how concept work is everything. So the method of teaching also must change. So for us, for our culture, it's very academic focused. It's very exam oriented, right? You don't challenge the student. Why does this mathematical formula exist? Someone in the past must have done it and must have used these formulas for a reason. But we go to school, this is how the formula is, calculate it, apply it, and that's about it, right? So why we push so much despite getting very, very limited support, be it from the corporate sector, be it from the government sector, we see the transformation across the last 40 years. Some of our robotics alumni are now giving back. They are working for a big organization like Petronas. They are over abroad doing their PhDs. And what they all said was one thing, is that they needed something that could give them a good balance between the two. So like when we teach, why we teach robotics is because robotics is part of the technology. When we talk about STEM, there must be an integration or use of technology into the classroom teaching. So if we teach science, what kind of tools that that embraces technologies that you can apply into your science classes, right? Because children are really, really smart. They know what's happening out there. So in order to challenge them is to make things more fun and more interesting in the classroom. We understand that it's maybe impossible to do it like nationwide, but there must be a solution, which is we have to agree that the method of teaching in the classroom must be changed. I know that in our school now, we also have like, asas computer, Reka Bentuk and technology. There's some things that they teach on coding, on robotics. But then it goes back to, are the teachers prepared to teach those modules? And chances are, majority of them are still not comfortable or not given that task to do that. So it's not about pointing about who's right and who's wrong, because I know everybody's trying to to play their role here. But if one thing that we need to realize is that soft skills in preparing them is everything. Because when you talk to corporates, we have interns, for example, interns coming into our training center, and what we realize that even in their final year, when a task is being given to them, for example, they are doing mechatronics engineering. So we have all the hardwares, all the robotics equipment, and we say, okay, now please create a project out of this. We give you a topic. They do not know where to begin. So preparing them for workforce is everything, but this is something that is a long term. It's long term. It's not something that can be done overnight. So in the end, even if they don't become professionals, you want them to have that basic computational thinking. How do they plan their life? How do they develop these soft skills that can help them? Like if they end up even becoming as an operator in a robot factory, they will have that certain kind of thinking and mindset that they can plan for their life. So whatever field they choose to be, they have to have that computational thinking. And this is something that again, everyone can play a role, and we see that we too, as the millennials, would love to see this change, but we cannot do it without the support of the decision makers, which are, the baby boomers. They need to understand, they need to adapt to the change, and the change is really, really fast. AI, those are all the ultimate goal. But right now is to prepare the student to make them becoming more resilient. They can question, yes, but there must be a method that they can be comfortable enough to adapt to these changes. That's just our personal opinion.
I think this is where the development you see in some schools, some Australia, Finland and all, where less of assessment. So when it's primary school, it's curiosity, let them play with whatever, and it's individual-based learning outcome. So I think rather than force-feeding people, you're right, train them the basic skill, communication, get working with each other and all that. That will, whatever jobs that come, they will be able to navigate. You want to train them to be more agile. See, one of the things I think what I've been seeing ASTI doing when you pick up the primary school children, you create curiosity. And I know I see you doing a lot of magic. Somehow or other, attract the kids. And I think one of the program I think you see in Tamil schools, if you look at longitudinal thing, the way they're winning science awards throughout the world is amazing. You know, you see that progress in terms of it, and I think you can shed some light. And I think this is a model. If you can have more people getting it, why Tamil school? I've seen others come and look. This should be a part of the school system, right? You know, you created. Maybe you shed some light. I think there's a lot of learning that came out of it.
No, I guess one of it, like what you said, is the issue of assessment. So people say, because there's assessment, the teacher will teach to get you ready for exams. Right? So what we did was we got rid of exams. But we are still preparing the students for exams that don't exist anymore. That means the teaching syllabus and the method is still the same. Right? Before we were preparing them for exams, and somebody said, no, exams will result in you students not being creative and having time to be able to learn on their own, stuff like that. So we got rid of exams, but we still kept the learning systems there. Right? In our science, the program we've been running for 18 years, which has got some traction, especially in Tamil schools, is we focus on conceptual learning and focus on the fundamentals of science, which is basically observation, asking questions, and then finding solutions, finding answers via hands-on. That means they have to find their own answer by creating an experiment to prove the answer. So they not only come up with the answer, but they have to prove that what they are saying is correct. So that's basically what science is. So the focus has been about the thinking process, right? That is what we need, I think so. In terms of, in the case of education system, the thinking process has to be emphasized, which is not. The memorization is still being emphasized. One of the problems, I think, and maybe some of you can add, is the teachers are not ready. To be fair, we have to have the system in place to be able to train the teachers to teach in a different way. To change the entire pedagogy, right? But that is not there yet, right? So it has to be ironically, it has to be a top-down approach. But a top-down approach is not good, as somebody was saying, right? I think Siva was saying that because we are going towards a system in which there's a lot of granularity in the future. That means the future can be different in different places and different environment, different all that kind of stuff. So the education has to be like that. Let's say American system or Finland, for example, is very decentralized, right? So we have to decentralize, but to change the design has to be top down. So it's not going to be an easy thing. Malaysia, we as a society and as the government has to make a decision that they have to be brave to make that decision. We've been following Finland. I remember when Bali 2.0 came into power, 2018. So I was asked to become a committee member for the National Education Policy Review Committee. So I was in the committee, and we wrote a report, and then it's been filed. And we all know what happens to file reports, so it's in a file, right? So, but anyway, that's me complaining. Don't worry, I'll edit that out. But the point still remains that when there was a lot of talk about let's follow the Finland model, right? And like what I said before, the issue of culture, right? So just so happened that before that, the Finnish ambassador had approached us and talked about some of the things that we were doing. So when I became a member of the committee, I started went and saw the Finnish ambassador. I said, sir, Your Excellency, of course. Your Excellency, we want to, there's a lot of talk about us going into the Finnish model. Can we do this? And I think it's partly because the ambassador must have gone through the Finnish model. He was very honest. He was not, a lot of us say, yeah, follow our model, ours the best. Here's a consulting fee, pays this amount of money. He did not say that. He said, Yunus, I do not think that you guys are ready, right? And I'm not saying this out of arrogance, but this process, what you see now, was something that was started 20 years ago, when the Prime Minister at that time took the brave decision to completely revamp everything, right? And in a way, can we rely on politicians to do this? This part I want to edit lah. Can we rely on politicians? Because politicians are not brave. Because actually politicians are followers, right? Because they want votes, right? Let me put it this way, the person that's going to do this, that's going to save the country, I think, my view, they will definitely lose the next election, right? But the question is, who is going to do that kind of sacrifice? I think, right? That's my view. So for us to drop everything and start something completely new, which is what the Finnish Prime Minister made 20 years ago, and what you see now is something, the decision that was made 20 years ago, and you see the results now. Can we do that? The issue of culture. So number one is, are we brave enough or courageous enough to do that, number one? Number two is, are we patient enough? I mean, we always say that itu orang putih, they're patient, this on that. But actually they are patient. They make the change and they kept to it for 20 years and they see the results. We, after 2 years, they say, not working. How do you know? 2 years, come on, right? So 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and then we change because we think it's not working, but we don't see the result. I mean, I'll give you an example, and I didn't read this law. In the case of science fair, I remember we always been having problems with funding, right? On the 8th year, I mean, everyone asks what's our key success factor, and I'll say this is the main key success factor. On the 8th year, we did not have any funding. So we had a discussion, and we were thinking of closing down the project, right? And we did not see results also. Yeah, they came, science fair, they had fun and all that, and then they go back, that's it. We did not see any results. But for some strange reason, we collectively decided we will keep it going, right? So 7th year came, 8th year, 9th year, suddenly, there was this spurt of winners. These teams were going overseas and winning like nobody's business, number one. Number two is, they also did very well in the UPSR exam in science. But it happened, it was like this, and then boom, like that. Now the question is, on the 8th, or is it 6th or 8th year, I can't remember, because 18 years we've been learning it. On the 6th or 7th year, if we had decided, when we did not see any results, to stop, right, and say this is a failed program, this method will not work, right, then this method will never be used because they will use this as a reference. Say, yeah, they did it for 6 years, it did not work, right? Now, this kind of system, because the law of inertia, is going to take a long time. So, do we have that appetite? So the issue of culture, I mean, I think the two important cultural aspects that we need for the culture that's going to survive into the future, number one is need to have patience to see results. Number two is has to be brave to make decisions and follow through and keep to it, right?
I think many of you have touched upon many of the different aspects of what we as a country need to do in order to prepare the students for change. I don't really have much to add on top of that, but I would say that just by my own observations here in Malaysia, right, I think the proliferation of private education is a byproduct or a symptom of the fact that either our education system isn't working, our teachers aren't good enough, or something's wrong. Because why are we sending our kids, well, not father, but why are parents sending their kids to these schools and paying 100,000 ringgit a year, where in Finland it's public good, it's free. So there's clearly something wrong there. I myself am a product of all the different education. I went to local primary school, and then I went to an international school, and then I went to a boarding school in the UK. So I've been through it all. But one thing definitely that I experienced, the major difference that I experienced was that in the international school and in the UK, we were taught to sort of think critically, question everything. Whereas when I did my UPSR, the only local exam that I did, we were taught to sort of memorize. These are the typical structure of the exams, memorize it, and you will get an A pretty much, right? Whereas when I did my IGCSEs and A-levels, we were taught to sort of, there's no right or wrong answer. It's more about how you come to the conclusion is where you gain the most points. And I think that also reflects into our higher education in Malaysia as well, where when they enter the working market, based on my own experiences when I interview potential staff, they are unable to think critically. They don't know how to adapt. They struggle with questions out of the comfort zone. You know, they think there is a formula to get a specific job or to a specific formula to get to a specific conclusion, whereas in the real world it's very much, you know, you have to, there's no right or wrong, I suppose. And I think those are the major differences that I see between Malaysians, or rather the local educated Malaysians, and perhaps those that have the opportunity to study abroad. And we are getting to a point where you have the haves and don't haves. You will see that cycle get bigger and bigger as the year progresses. Those who could go to private school will generally earn bigger income, and those that don't will be stuck in that same mentality forever. And in my view, that's no good for any development for the country. Yeah, so just those two cents. Yeah.
Thank you.
Divide. Yeah.
You want to add something?
I think this whole concept of the memorization and studying or doing things for exams is pervasive in the entire society. I had a driver's license from overseas. I can't use that driver's license here, and I was forced to go to driving school here after 40 years of driving. I had to go to a driving school, and the driving school here, I had to sit through the damn with the writing, the rules thing for a whole day, and then I had to go to a physical driving school. What they were teaching was how to park, and the way it was, the entire process was not how to park. It was how to park so that you pass. So you come out of that, you go anywhere else, you couldn't park. And you can see that all over the place. Nobody here can park parallel park. I mean, they struggle. Sorry, but you don't teach to how to pass. Because you look at the painting on that thing, you drive up to that painting there, and then you turn it around this much, then you stop right when you see that point there. This is not teaching. You go the same thing driving. So, and I was asked a few questions here and there, because what we were taught when I was in high school, and I had to take a class as a high school student how to drive in the US. It was a different thing that they taught us. It was how to drive and what to observe, what you look for, and so forth and so on. And the rules but you had no idea. Here, I asked the question of the teacher. You get to an intersection, 4 stops. Who has the priority? Granted that nobody stops at stop signs here, but who has the priority? The teacher has no idea. So you see, the thing is, again, that mentality is pervasive in the entire society. We need to change the society as a whole. We need to start, the Malaysian Madani shouldn't be about, I don't know what it is about. But whatever it is about, it has to be change of civil society and thinking. And we need to essentially start promoting that. We need to promote merit-based society. That's how you initiate people to actually think and initiate people to actually do better. You need to promote problem solving. I have people, engineers, who come to me and apply for positions. They have been working for 12 years, and all they have been doing is plugging a number into an Excel sheet. They know how to do that very well, but they have no idea what that formula itself is. And these are 12 years working experience. So you actually, it's not something that is going to go away that easy, but it is something that we need to start looking at it from a fundamental perspective. and be critical of ourselves as a society and start asking questions and making changes. And if we don't, and not be willing, we're not willing to accept that it's going to be painful, things won't change.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lake. I came from TVET, Technical and Vocational Education. I think the first few speakers spoke about science and technology, then we talk about how to create entrepreneurs. But being in TVET, we have a different kind of challenges. The first thing is, the school feels these students are useless, take them out from the system. And we take them out, the first thing that we face is attitude. So we have, luckily, the last 20 years the government has created vocational funding, so through which there are many colleges, so we are able to take these students. Maybe the first year we have a lot of issues, putting them right, making them feel that, forget about the studies, let's learn some skills and secure a job. So our priority is shape them up towards you being accepted as a good employee, and you, with that employment, you can lead a life. That is our first priority when it comes to discipline. Then the other two is, how would you progress in your career? So you need to add some leadership skills. Maybe you need to learn some technology, and this is a challenge. The best of the two was the entrepreneurship and businessman. Having trained about 9,000 students over the last 20 years, the last category that was a focus of this forum, it was 0.001%. And I noticed in the last couple of years, it's not technical education, it's not vocational education. I think I need to do a lot of coaching and mentoring, and that has to become at least 20-30%. And the coaching and mentoring is not purely soft skill, it has to be in the form of the way Dr. Yunus mentioned it. That means that the education itself has to be 50%. So I'm only taking leadership of this organization from this year. So I've told all my staff, 60% I always ridicule in my meetings, guarantee pass. The government system is guarantee pass. So there's nothing to really know whether the student has become competent or not. So let's take the 30% and we create our own way of how do we really categorize a student. He can be okay with attitude, he can go to work, because eventually at the end of it, if he doesn't get a job, we are also being ranked, you are not a 5-star college. So we have to make them successfully being employed by the company. But along with it, what I would like to say is there is a lot of counseling and coaching in whatever things. I mean, eventually to adapt to life-changing technologies, that one part of it. I think a good student or an intelligent student, somehow he has got a ground to lead his family and live successfully in some ways or other. But vocational students, 3/4 of them are, because of the environment and because of their own intelligence level, the chances of them, if they don't get the attitude right, they will fail miserably. So I really don't focus very much on technology, entrepreneurship. I'm more interested in how do we develop a society which would eventually has the capability to sustain in this challenging world. That's in brief. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Rajah, you wanted one question I need you to study upon, because we are talking about future. Okay, I think if everybody heard about the Petronas Malaysia Cup Race, have you heard? It's a yearly motorcycle race. Okay, fully sponsored by the government. Dato Tharuma Rajah, parents are sending their kids as young as 6 years old to race the motorbike. Fully sponsored every day. You understand the psyche behind it? You are literally sending your kid to either die, patah tangan, patah kaki. I interviewed them. Very clear. I want to go to MotoGP. they see the career pathway. But here you want them to go to a TVET class, to go and take something, you literally have to pull them, wallop them, but something that's engineering their life, but they are going. So this Caprix model, Dr. Prof, you study it is the most successful government, private sector, civil society that has created tangible results. We actually already created world champion in the MotoGP. So how do we take this Petronas Malaysia Caprix, okay, and today they already have their own R&D, you know, Prof. They are already producing motorcycle racing parts and exporting it. Okay, so how do we take this successful model in our context? And please take the time to go and see, there's already a mini GP, 6-year-old kids racing. So the psyche, the logic behind it, maybe is something to study upon. Thank you.
Dato, can I
Yes,
say
please.
the mic is here?
Yeah.
So, okay. I'm Chong from the Curriculum Development Division from Ministry of Education. So I was sent here, so I think I should respond. And I met Dr. Yusof before, once he was invited to our division, because last year, the whole year through, we are doing analysis of needs. Because as what I heard today is, many of the opinions here, thoughts, insights, we actually has already collectively collected from the public, from NGOs, and also from universities. So what we are facing now is, I believe, the change. The change is too fast. So for my division, we are in charge of the curriculum. So we are heading towards future jobs requirements. So we have to. I really appreciate what this lovely lady has shared just now regarding robotics education and STEM. So yeah, and Asas Science Computer is actually my sector's neighbor. So maybe I can recommend you because now we are really looking for experts in the industry to feed us information and the needs of the current industry needs. So because we have to integrate these needs into our curriculum. So I would like to make a promotion here. If any one of you would like to really let us know more about what you are doing outside in the industry, you can just email to us. Go to our Kementerian Pendidikan website, just send us an email, and our HQ will really come to us by division. So we have around 20 divisions. Okay, so as TVET also, we have one division for TVETs, and we are offering 100 over TVET courses to the College of Vocational throughout the nation. So you can also feel free to give any opinions regarding industry needs in the TVETs field to BPL TV. We have one division that is basically on vocational and techniques. Okay, we welcome that. So we are actually heading, this year we have already started now mapping, formulating new curriculum. I think not all of you should know that it has been announced by our military regarding the curriculum perseverahan in 2027. So we are looking forward to anyone outside in the industries to give us feedbacks and opinions. We will consider that. So I believe Dr. Yunus have came, talk about STEM's teaching approach. So we understand that first, the syllabus must be answering the needs of the industry. We need to build a very strong foundation and nurture values from young. So in schools, we are not only talking about knowledge or skills, but we are trying to shape the particular child positively, being what we can say with good values, so that they can serve the nation and society better. So this is what we're expecting. So with knowledge but without morality, no civics, is still nothing. So what we're expecting is we try to build out a curriculum that could adapt changes to fulfill what society needs. That's one. So we need to educate them with knowledge and skills so that they could survive in future and help others. And another thing is we need to make sure that this knowledge and skills will make them a new person or just to form them into what they should be. So we have actually 3 levels: preschool, primary and secondary. Then we pass to MOHI, Ministry of Higher Education, for the future career path. Okay, so when we talk about preschool now, we try to make students learn in an environment which they can learn and will have fun. We try not to stress them up in the preschool level, so they learn to communicate. I think that is very, very important. And when they go to primary, we will try to literate them with literacy and numeracy. We make sure that they can read and we make sure that they know about numbers because those are the foundation. Then slowly we adapt them with the self-learning approach. And when they come to the secondary level, they can focus on major subjects that could help them to foresee what they need in future. So by upper secondary, that means it's a secondary 4 and secondary 5, they will have to select the elective subject. So TVET is one of our package. Alright, so I believe that a lot of public felt that TVET is second class, but I can strongly say that it's no. We cannot say that it's a second class, it is last classes, so because that is the students' career path that they are interested in. So that means if they are not in the STEM, doesn't mean that they are second class students. So we are trying to kind of change, adapt the needs. So we are going into a new curriculum framework where we are more of competency oriented. So we want students to know, to have the ability what to do and how to do. So this is our coming future curriculum framework. And also by teachers, we are continuously coaching them. We are exposing them to a lot of pedagogies methods. So last year we have also introduced 7 modules on teaching pedagogies. So we are in the midst of introducing it to the teachers, and I think digitalization has helped the teachers a lot since MCO. So I believe everybody plays a role. I would like to thank, the lady behind just now, she was talking about parents. So I feel that in schools beside teachers, I think parents hold a very important part to nurture their children, because that is how when the children goes back and then if the parents just ignore, so it's still the same. So I think everyone in this society, teachers, parents and student itself, they really need to come together. So mobilizing support from the community is very important. So that is what we are doing today. Congratulations to all of us. Thank you.
Madam, one question, madam. The curriculum body consists of who, madam? What?
You mean my division?
Yeah, that means the body that
Okay, in our division, we have around 8 sectors.
Okay.
So I am from the social science sectors, for example.
Okay.
So from my sector, we have 4 units. One is the history unit, one is the geography unit, one is economic and financial education unit, that's me, and one more is the moral and civic education unit. So we are in charge accordingly to units. So if just say, for example, the history unit, so they will have to in charge of the history curriculum, the syllabus, history syllabus from year 1 to year 6 and secondary 1 to secondary 5. So we will develop the
Is
whole
there
syllabus.
any inter-ministry involved?
If you say inter-ministry, yes. So that is what I said just now. We need panels from outsider to help us to map and formulate the syllabus. So for example, we will try to seek help from the universities lecturers, which are they are the expert in that particular subject. And also there are certain corporates, company, and also the panel that they are expert in that field. We will invite them to come over as our formulator.
Okay, because I did, there's no whiteboard here. I did a simulation to the past 3 prime ministers before. Okay, you must look at it as a simulation. When there is an investment coming into Malaysia, say AI, electric vehicle or whatnot, it goes to MITI, betul? Okay.
MITI must then ask the question to Kementerian Sumber Manusia, is our workforce ready? Are you guys ready? Then it must trail back to Kementerian Pengajian Tinggi, Human Resource, JPK, PTPK, and it must trickle down to the Ministry of Education. So that everything is tight, future-proof, because everybody is talking to each other. Can you feel that simulation or not? It has to work that way. You see, today the government is talking about Geely coming in, Tesla coming in, but it dies at MITIS. We have been telling this for the last 10 years. Okay, it dies there. Even in the defense sector, that we were talking about the aerospace, but it is not trickling down there. You see, it's only Dr. Yunus who understands this matter. So imagine, Puan, if you have MITI in your board, in your this one, you have KSM, you have subject matter experts. Subject matter expert pun sometimes pun you take NGOs ke apa, you kena jaga tau, because sometimes they jaga their cartel, you know. Okay? So whatever, when the Prime Minister or leader goes outside the country, so you are already ready from down there. From the Education Ministry, right? Okay, we are ready. Example, last week I met the Photovoltaic Association of Malaysia. They said, Rizal, we are bringing in how many billion worth of investment on solar, photovoltaic from China. Are you guys ready? I jet.
Okay.
Yeah. I actually fundamentally disagree with you. Okay. Because foreign direct investment that comes into this country doesn't come to this country to bring innovation for this country.
Yes,
I agree.
Wait.
It comes to this country for cheap labor. It comes to this country to be able to get tax advantage, and it comes to this country for the infrastructure that this country provides to them for free.
Yes.
So that is the wrong approach to take, to base our educational system on foreign direct investment coming into this country, in my opinion. Okay? My opinion, I think you need to actually put it on how the model is in more, innovative countries. Base your curriculum based on that. I was in the US just last year and I was looking at the curriculum. I was shocked. The highest school, the biology course, first year high school biology course was the course that I took in university when I was a senior in university. So things have changed dramatically. And now we are sitting here and talking about things to do with, assembling jobs is not the type of thing that's going to bring a high innovation and high value to this country. What we need to be focusing on are innovation and leading, and how can we bring what curriculum we can put together to be able to develop that. And MITI is not going to give us that. I can assure you that. Okay? Sorry.
What I meant was is the supply and demand.
I know. But that demand is the wrong demand to focus on. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
There was no ever innovation. Okay, in fact, I was the first one who told our chief minister in Penang. Penang was never a Silicon Valley of the East. We never, anything innovation was done. But you are right. Japan, when they started with us with Proton, they never did a proper transfer of technology. You are right, you're correct, to a certain extent. But when we are talking about new technologies where we can learn, that is, in short, I say that our people, they know, the awareness is there. Certain things like that. In fact, for defense also, to a certain extent, we need to get ourselves prepared. But I agree, to a certain extent, yes, I agree.
That was quite provocative in terms of the... Very good, that's why Socrates does. You want to respond?
My name is Nazim. I just have a question for Puan Chong. All the things that you just said now, are they recent development in terms of recent development? All these years you didn't realize that there's a problem in those areas?
I'd like to just add one more thing, Ms. Chong, is that it's great that you're looking at revamping. One of the things that I feel that when you're doing the revamp is think about experiential learning for the children, because I think that's very critical. As you put in the changes, like for example, math, in some of the developed countries, they don't teach on the whiteboard. They actually have manipulatives that the kids can move around, because there's nothing like tactile movement in order for learning to take place. So something for you all to consider as well. Oh dear. I'm so
Good.
Sorry. Yeah.
It's not on.
Can I have the floor, please? Can I have the floor?
Okay.
Yeah, point John. We listened to all the things you just said just now. It sounds very good. But are these all, like, for example, trying to revamp the curriculum on a need basis, infusing morality? Are these all recent development?
Yeah, we are doing it now because the framework it has to be ready by 2027.
Yeah, but you didn't realize these issues 10, 15 years ago?
Can get a mic?
I want to be optimistic with what you just said.
Yeah, I understand. Don't worry. I'm trained to explain.
We've been hearing all these wonderful things for the past 20, 30 decades.
Yeah, you see, when a curriculum cycle, it seems like you take 10 years, right? When the latest revised curriculum is 2017. So that means on the road, 2017 it will start from, usually it will be year 1, then secondary 1. Then the next year it will be introduced the year 2, secondary 2. I know you're
okay. I don't like to hear the details.
It's okay because it's related.
All the things you just said sounded very, very good.
No, I want to explain a little bit because I feel that you all should know. So the cycle, when you talk about analysis of needs, it's not that when we want to change the curriculum, then we do the analysis of needs. We are doing it every year. So these are the things that we have already compiled. So that is what we try to compile all the changes, and I can tell you, I can agree that the enhancement and the modernization is too fast now. So we are trying to cope. So to give us some time, when we could cope at our level, then we are trying to teach the teacher, train the teacher to cope with it as well. So I think just now I heard that unlearn and learning. So we are trying to go into that approach.
Actually, I
Okay.
can answer.
Can I add something here? Okay, pertaining to the curriculum again. Actually, to change the curriculum is not just simply changing, all right? Time to time, when we are going to do some changes to the curriculum, we normally call for industrial dialogue together with all the experts, subject experts, and also university lecturers who are expert in the field. Then we have the dialogue. After having the dialogue, only then we will look into what are the things that we really need to change. And because TVET is involved with the industries basically, so to make changes, okay, we really look into it, and then a team will make the amendments, the subject experts and all that. Once done, it's not just simply taken to the students. It will go through several phases before the board actually approve. All right. So once the curriculum is out to the practitioners, only then the effort should take over by the educators actually. So how the educators implement makes the difference on the implementation actually. All right. And also, if you look at the TVET subjects, I would suggest or would say that problem-based learning is very, very important, and situational learning. Because these two actually can bring that syllabus that is given, the skills that is given to us
to the students well, okay, so that they can grab it, and when they go for their industrial training, they can apply. Otherwise, if you just give them in theoretical aspect, they are going to really suffer when they go for their industrial training.
I'm playing the devil's advocate here. Since you're doing TNA every year, you're getting feedback. What about assessing against best practices out there that are working and trying to leapfrog a little bit and look at how to implement that in Malaysia? Why do we go back to the fundamentals when there are best practices out there that we can emulate? Why is that not being taken into consideration?
It looks like there's quite a number.
I would like to answer this because I really now, this is my 13th year of service in the government.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm kind of young. Okay, so when we youngsters go into teaching, I'm still young, I like to go. Okay, so when we go into there and we try to make changes, unfortunately, of course, our bosses and their bosses disagree with us. But it's because they have done their studies, because we are still young, also maybe we want things too fast. And the system goes slightly smoother because they are answerable to many people.
Siapa bos tu?
Ha?
Siapa bos?
Tak boleh dah, rekod ni, habis tadi saya.
No, I think one of the things to highlight, kids from Malaysia, we work a lot with Ministry of Education in terms of it. I think the process of change is a huge ministry.
Yes.
So with that you need some radical person to come and check it and say, guys, let's do it, and all. I think must be some of them attempted to do, because you still go, the process is the old process. So it goes to the majlis, the meeting and all to do. So I think one thing, if we really want to look, how can we really shake this up, move at a faster speed? I think what you are doing is admirable. I know some of the work that you are doing is good, and because the system doesn't, there's a whole bureaucracy of the government, and you have to follow. That is, you bring to these majlis. I remember working with them, that is happened. Whereas in Singapore it's easy, I say, I did transformation, 22,000 teachers, political alignment was there. Admiral Teo was the Minister of Education, Chan Chin Fu was the Chief Secretary of Government. Easy, except go there, say it, and it's a small country, and they were able to do because alignment was there, and they had continuity in government. And whatever minister come what may, the DG of Education will drive, the KSU will drive. So that's where it's a bit different. Like Finland, smaller country, you could do it. So I think good.
We have to also look at MQA, whether it aligns with that.
Correct. There's so many parties in the system because we created some monsters around that.
I disagree with that. I mean, we're always using bureaucracy as the scapegoat. Okay, for example, this is me thinking out aloud. We have the current system as it is. What can we put in place so that as we put in place, for example, the extracurricular activities, extracurricular activities that become compulsory, where we're teaching them, for example, experiential learning and the skills like agility, adaptability from young, we make it compulsory for them to do extracurricular activities. Just like that, we put that in place at tandem while we move it along. Because if we keep talking about changing and revamping, let's put something in place so that that change can take place simultaneously.
Normally when we talk about that, it's not only curriculum activities.
When we talk about curriculum activities, it's also based on the syllabus that's given to us. So extra activities like competitions, when we are training them, that's where all the other factors, activities comes in.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but okay. For example, like what ASTI is doing right now. If you could make that something that all schools need to do, that skill building is already going to happen. That's how I feel.
I agree.
Yeah. So we already have, for example, we have magic, we have cradle, we have all this happening, but they all happen in isolation. This is what is really frustrating as a person who's been involved in the startup environment with young people. Everything starts and then it just ends with prize giving and all that, but the nurturing for incubation and going to market always drop. The ball has dropped. And that's where ASTI, for example, if it's made compulsory, then we get it further. And that change can take
Just a quick one.
place.
Quick one. I do need, as a host, to defend the civil servants. Right? I'm going to say, please, you should not have said you're working for the government. Right?
That was very brave.
Very brave. Thank you very much. Nazim was with the civil service, he was in Padu, right? So he knows the frustration being at Padu and all that. But I think, right, just a quick thing. This change, we cannot. My father was a civil servant. I got all the respect for civil servants. Yeah. So now the question now is, it is not government against NGOs against, because there are convent crook NGOs, there are convent crook government servants, there are convent crook politicians, there are good politicians, there are good this thing and all that. The question now is, and we're talking about change, right? Real change has to happen when good people work with good people to get good outcome. Yes. Not government work with this. Forget. I think the old way of doing things has to go.
Yeah.
We have to find good people within the government, good people within the politicians. Although that's going to be a bit difficult.
It's not going to happen anytime soon.
No, it's not. Totally agree, but somewhere along the line it has to happen.
Doctor?
But I do think, like what you were saying, there are some quick fixes, like what you were saying, putting certain mistakes, and we do need to decentralize. Yeah.
Continuing what you were saying.
By the way, you special budget.
Okay.
Dinner.
Okay, very quick.
Very quick, then Radha.
Okay, I support decentralized, okay, education, even though it runs a risk of fanatism somewhere, okay, as long as it's okay. But it's already happening. If you really look at it, all this private school sending is a backdoor decentralization.
Yeah.
It's giving better result. We have data to show. We have students to show. We have graduate and entrepreneurs to show. All the digital.
People can afford.
I'm saying it's happening backdoor. The decentralization is happening through backdoor. They can formalize it, but they don't want.
But you have to have a structure. You see, the decentralization without having certain framework, it's going to be chaos. And it is going to be, again, and we have the same scenario in the US, where you have charter schools coming on board, and charter schools became profit centers for a few individuals who essentially formed them. So without providing any education to anybody.
In support of government, the way I see, the biggest problem with decentralization is the disparity of the community. You cannot have one education system and you're hoping for a loft, falsafa pendidikan of that 30 million people. Which is not, because they are so diverse. They are till today, our biggest problem is the diversity.
Yes.
It is not a strength.
Could be a strength.
It can be a strength. But that's what they are using to.
Okay, and then Radha, you want to speak, and then gentleman there. Okay, Radha, quick one.
So we have to be aware, and what Yunus is saying that think about the future. Okay, we know what is the current problem.
Okay, let's Radha.
Okay, I'd like to just share some insight. Okay, first of all, I think Ministry of Education is doing a good job, especially on 2027 curriculum. They are going to bring in political character, which is very good. I think I support that. We could see some kind of improvement later. All right. One thing I want to share. I was with. I do a lot of projects with UITM, especially on the engineering side, and I find that starting from this year, though, the enrollment, the number of students going for engineering reducing a lot. The reason is because the number of students going to science stream has reduced in the past 5-10 years. And you're talking about AI, which is going to be more on technical and everything. I think, I don't know how, like Dr. Yunus, you must come up with some kind of ideas that we have to go to the schools and, you know, and I think that's very important.
Okay.
That's what I was
Thanks. That gentleman.
Okay. Hi, my name is Alvin. When you mention baby boomers and Gen Z, don't forget the X's.
Yes.
We created the digital migration. So back in the 90s, we talk about Kinichiomai. We talk about the borderless world. We weren't so afraid. But I see a lot of fear in this room. I feel the fear, and I'm not fearful. I think the government is, I'll come to the government in a minute. So the first thing to prepare students for a faster changing world is not to fear. We've got to do better than fearing. There's a lot of fear-mongering. I totally disagree with the fact that diversity is not a good thing. Diversity is a great thing. But folks from everywhere, up north, down south, Sabah, Sarawak, they should celebrate the diversity. But could they actually critically think how good that diversity is? Because the issue is that there are two groups of people, those who champion the diversity and can thrive, like the Saudi Arabians and the Middle Easterns. And there are those who just decided to just grab one piece of history and go into a cocoon. So how do they celebrate their diversity? How do they work on it? They need to be educated. They need to think critically, creatively, and ethically as well. So that's a challenge. And the challenge cannot be taken lightly. So the first thing to do is not fear and engage with everyone. Because it would be great for folks everywhere to thrive. Decentralization may be a problem, but it's a good thing too. So that's the second point. Thirdly, the politics. It's very simple. Right now, the key in my thinking is that can we get politicians of across party to sit down and agree on a 10-year plan for education, regardless of whoever is in government, and let the civil servants do their job. That's the key. So that we don't have different governments coming in, changing the policies. I lived in England for 16 years. I don't talk like that. No, I can change my accent. We talk like that, you know. And if you live in the UK, you realize that governments change. Political parties come and go. But the civil servants do a great job. And they may change a little bit here and there. So different parties argue about education, essentially moving between 0.5% of policies. So can we get cross-party support for our curriculum? Let them fight it over, then finally agree a 10-year, 20-year plan. Because back in 1994-95, we weren't so afraid, right? We weren't, because we had at the time a very bushy and very strong and a very unafraid prime minister. That's another story. Yeah. Finally, this is my last point. Private education will always win. So when you talk about how students can prepare for a faster changing world, I work in the private education space. We're beating the world. We have got Malaysian students who will change this world. That's the problem, because we don't have enough support for the public schools. So the government should, across party, think about spending 2 to 3% of GDP on education, and do it well, and make sure the civil servants, implement the budget correctly across for the next 10 years, and just work on building the schools, give all the opportunities back into the state schools, and very quickly a lot of private schools will die off, which is probably not a bad thing. Now I'm hitting my own rice bowl here, so I'm just saying, right? We should not have to depend so much on private education, right? All across. We should have better schools, better universities, and finally, more teachers wanting to be teachers. Because they go below that power. This idea is that if you can't get into medicine or marketing or business, you end up being a teacher, and then you come up with this stupid thing. You you don't know what to do with your life, you teach, or something like that, right? That's ridiculous. We've got teachers who are not motivated because they're not doing teaching, you know? So just for your information, my father was a lecturer, my mother was a teacher, I was a lecturer, and my wife is a teacher. So we love teaching, educating. So the question is, can we get people from the private sector voluntarily go back to the public sector? And the answer is no way, not a chance, until we spend 2 to 3% of our GDP on education. That's very simple. And bring quality back to the state schools and so on and so forth. And really give support to the teachers, because we're not supporting them. And finally, one thing about parents, I will never comment about how bad a state school or how good a state school is, because my kid goes to an international school. I'm not qualified to make that statement. In the UK, where I was living for 16 years, right, the state school gets support across the catchment area. Parents of every single class, social class or whatever, financial background, go to the same school and support that school. We don't have that. We've got kids driving, parents with a lot of money and sit there and argue every day how bad the state schools. I don't think that's fair, and I think that's wrong. Which is why we need to pump money back to the state education and the universities and very quickly, set the balance right again in favor of state education. There will always be private education, that's fine. Right? So if they want to pay for it, pay for it. So please put that down. We need 3% GDP on education.
One thing on GDP, we have did a major research with University of Malaysia. It's not about how much. Malaysia's allocation to education much higher than South Korea. In the OECD countries, it's how the money is spent. Okay, like the budget and all that is quality of education, excellence in education. I don't think it's about putting more money. Today you look at what we spend in education, we have looked at it, is far per capita than South Korea, than others.
Activity based, not result based.
That's it. So one of the things I think is a lot of outcome-based learning. So a lot of the research we did around societies in terms of why China, Hong Kong, Singapore and all, there's a lot of outcome-based learning. So even classes, it's not about number of children in classes, it's the quality of teacher. There's a lot of coaching, mentoring. The classes are big, but a lot of the senior teachers come and coach the other teachers. The coaching and mentoring is an important part of the entire process that needs to be done. So I think, I know the education, this thing, you have the C+, the coaching plus and all that. We need to do more, to get it more traction. I think the framework, the blueprint, you look, is amazing.
Maybe we need to take a step back to train the teachers.
That's it.
Okay, so that means we need to take a look at the Ministry of Health model.
Yes.
If you know what I say?
I know.
Yeah, because my mother was the Ketua Pengarah Sekolah Latihan Jururawat.
Correct.
Which was the last special program by WHO.
Correct.
You see, if you see any gynecologists, or doctors from the 70s, 80s, 90s, they are scared of the tutors and nurses. Because the tutors and nurses are actually tutoring them.
Yes.
You understand or not? Yeah. So
no, that's why there's a lot of topics I can give you the thing where coaching and mentoring. What Hong Kong, Singapore, and the others do is coaching and mentoring. So the class size doesn't matter, doesn't equate to this. So because larger class, the experienced teachers will coach and mentor in terms of what needs to be done. So like what we say, the major change program, why Singapore 2000 we did Thinking School Learning Nation. Coach Chok said we want to mold the future of the nation. So they really, and I led the program in terms, there's a Joyce Foundation article that tells everything what was done. Change the principle, what's the social status, what's the value of principle. Teacher, from knowing all to facilitator of learning. So you change the performance management system, you change the competencies that were future, developing the holistic time. That was important change management. And I think from some aspect, The Blair government did a lot in education. In Australia, the Victoria state did a lot. Australia is decentralized in doing it. So I think what we need to do, the plans and all are there. But I think the effectiveness of implementation, one is speed, one is getting the real focus that need to be done. And that's a problem, a lot of blueprint, but doesn't land.
So if you do a resolution, can we agree one is back to the teachers?
Yes.
Then only whatever modules or syllabus can work. So Pancong, don't worry Pancong. Semua orang settle, semua cikgu. I nak kata cikgu, tapi because why? Those days the teacher are our second parents. We were taught like that. I can still remember Mr. Gu, Mr. Low, and there's a joke. We are lucky because the English teachers were Indians. That's why we are good.
No, the quality. Even those days when they could be trained, I was a product of they were not all graduates. But the pedagogy they brought, where the morality and all, there was a passion.
Okay, sir, I got to go.
Okay,
closing. Thank you, everybody. I just wish, sir. I just wish if I become to the government schools. In 20 years' time, I wish to see that people are proud that I'm from Penang Free School, I'm from VI, I'm from Bintang School. That's not happening today. People are not proud of our government.
Just sit down for 2 minutes.
Can I say something before you left? Okay. I really support government school.
Yes.
I'm from the primary school until University of Malaysia. I'm studying science, chemistry. Today, I'm the formulator for the chemicals. My products export to several countries. Then they also very surprised that I'm the formulator and play around with the chemical. So I support the government school until today. The young kids, I also approach them to government school. Why? Because government school we have government to support. Then we have the facility that is cannot provide by private school. This is why I will support government school. This I support Pancong. Right?
Just to add on, because I know her nephew, so youngster like 21, 20 years old, when those from the private school, colleges, when they go to the university, see how they function, they will so admire that, how come you have this kind of environment? Because in those college, you go to college and then just go back. Go to college and then just go back. You don't have the university life. Like this is enjoyed by, even though when they go for university in overseas, they have the life study in university, which locally private school.
I also support what they suggest is when you study, actually you have to memorize the terms, the theory. That's very true because I'm the formulator. If I don't memorize the chemistry, actually I cannot produce a product. Okay, so memorize is very important. Why they say that government school fail this and that? Because we studied 20 years ago. So today, I can be the formulator. Then we found that actually government need to do is when you study the theory, like now is one to technopreneur, right? I'm the entrepreneur. I have the two business, okay? So we learn the we learn the theory, then with the co-curriculum, we have the practical. So I play with the chemicals. When I study chemistry that time, I don't know why I need to study chemistry. Until now, people say, I want to buy organic things. I say, sorry, there is no organic things. Everything is organic and inorganic together. So there is a marketing, it's not chemistry. So I very support until they talk about, I say I support government. Why? You just change to theory, then go together with the practical. So we will let the school, the children know that, understand why I want to use this. My nephew, they study robotics. When they study, they don't know why they want to use the programming until they go to competition. They come up with a project, they show everything. Then one day, he told me, Auntie, I understand why I want to do the programming. Not because of the theory, because of the practical. So we spent for 20 years to understand the chemicals. So if I put these 20 years, come back to the Form 6, Form 5,
we learn sodium hydroxide. Why? So we put inside the practical. So we understand sodium hydroxide, we burn with the oil, we come out the what? Handmade soap. Now handmade soap can make money, right? Actually, we study this one is a Form 5. So if government make the core curriculum together with the theory, I think Malaysia very success, very fast. Go ahead. Because outside country, because my things export, means that we can do it. Only thing is we want to be fast or we go together with the theory. Because theory is very important, it's the basic. Actually, Malaysia government, the basic is very strong. Only thing is we don't know how to do application.
Okay, good. Elvin?
Yeah.
Okay, last.
Elvin, one small correction on my side. What I meant earlier was disparity, not diversity.
Thank you. So can I just, Chairman, I think we need more money spent. We need to allocate more for schools, for the vocational schools, because they need a lot of support, and for universities. I really disagree with you. Right? We don't allocate nearly enough to this country to give them schools the options to play with things that they want to play. Children should be playing. They should have opportunities to do playgrounds and all sorts. We need to improve on their facilities, and that comes with money. Now, there's also another reason I mentioned. We fix at a certain percentage because that is a cross-parties decision. So for governments to allocate that amount and stick to it for the next 10, 20 years. So it's easier for the ministry to budget what to spend, how to spend, and for universities to also have allocation. Now, how we manage that money, I agree with you. There are some problems. We have to work on that. But that's for Puan Chong's problem.
Okay. Okay, I think we have got time. In terms of it, we can continue discussion after this in a formal. I really thank you all for attending this. It became heated up. I think this is what Socrates dialogue about critical thinking. I really thank the bravery of our education ministry staff to turn out and I think things are happening. There's a lot of work being done. We need to be more patient. But I think we are reaching a critical threshold in the of humankind. So I think there's a wake-up call to move it faster, quicker, because we can't wait. Because time cannot wait in terms of the education that need to really happen. There's strong support I can see of our public education system. Some things like what ASTI is doing. You see the way, like you said, scam people are not. I think what they have done, it's a pity they have not done across all education. The Tamil schools have transformed. If you really look at the achievement in terms of it, if we can replicate some best practices, there must be some in Chinese school, some in other schools we need to do. How do we cross-pollinate? It's not in isolation. I think cross-pollination is important. That's why when we did Singapore, there's a buddy system. They create a third force when people say, hey, this is how I teach chemistry, this is how I teach history. So we need to take the best practices that we really need. What Mustafa Sulaiman said, in 5 to 10 years, each one will have their best doctor, the best teacher, the best thing. Because it's going to democratize the affordability and people have access to services. So I think very good comment about industries, where we need to do and the rest. I think there is hope. Okay, I think in summation, there's a lot of hope. We believe that as Malaysians, we need to strive, have faith in the system, whether in NGO, more occasions like these, and people talk about cross-party. I think that's going to be a challenge in Malaysia, if to try to get everybody around the table, but we try to do what we need to do. With that, thanks all of you. It's past 8, I would say, but people have been quite lively and not.
Guys, thank you all for coming.